What's up, everybody? It's Conger Live. We're back again with another Kingdom Boss video. In today's video, we're going over the Risen heroes now that we have updated information as to their potential when they're fully exalted. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing for more content. Ninja kick that like button, leave a comment with your thoughts, and let's go get into it. Okay, here we are in the Risen faction. Going to touch briefly on the rare heroes that can make it to Legendary Plus as their highest form with level 3 skills. Deals more magical damage, adds 3 stacks of poison, and 7 seconds of inhibited to each enemy hit. Pretty cool that for 7 seconds she's stopping enemies from gaining buffs while also poisoning them. Pretty cool. Poison character there for Still Flake. Marked for death, every 6th basic attack deals 315% magical damage. Applies marked for 7 seconds. Marked enemies take an additional 15% increased damage from undead and toxic allies and explode on death, dealing 115% magical damage to nearby enemies. That's cool. Exploding. Another way of exploding was it Pollux makes the enemies explode. I think they could work together because they also do poison and marked. Ink Trap deals 140% magical damage to 3 random enemies for every 16 seconds. If that enemy is poisoned or marked, they are stunned for 5 seconds. It's nice that she has a stunned. I think it was 3 seconds at level 1. So yeah, she's got some potential as a rare hero to be worked on some synergistic teams there. But overall, she's fodder. Gregor slaps with his ult. Soul Crusher gains 3 stacks of focused and then deals over 1,000 physical damage to enemy target. If the enemy is killed, Gregor heals for 330% power. So the 3 stacks of focused, this could crit, which will do even more damage. Enemy Gregors in the story like one shot me sometimes, and it's just super annoying. And then he heals. Ugh, it's like it's nonstop. He can be really annoying if you get that to trigger. He deals an additional 35% damage to enemies who are less than 35% max health, so he's also more likely to get that kill on his ult to trigger. And then Morbid Invigoration, whenever an enemy is killed, undead allies gain regenerating for 6 seconds, and Gregor charges 30% energy. So him charging the energy and regaining more life, he's a win more. His kit's all about win more. If he gets going, he's like a freight train. Hard to stop. Of course, level 160 is the cap, so going to ultimately be fodder in the long run. But early on, he can do some decent damage. And then Blood Crow is the most amazing support in the game when it comes to rare heroes. Summons 5 crows, starts with 3, and he works his way up to 5, which is amazing on the battlefield for 6 seconds, and then they last longer when you level them all the way up. Heals for 150% power, heals more, cleanses 1 debuff every second, close firing over deal magical damage. It's 155%. I'm surprised it's not colored. I would imagine that should be colored. That could be a bug, a visual bug. Purges 1 buff per second and applies 1 stack of blinded to the enemy. Applying blinded was added. That's not in the basic skill set. Crows prioritize allies with the least health and enemies with the most buffs. Ritual Revitalization, he heals the lowest health every 10 seconds for 450 per hour. So more often the heals and a higher heal as you level them up. And then whenever an ally dies, he heals all allies for 170% power. Risen and Nature allies heals for 340% power. Instead, if Blood Crow dies, heals all allies for 510% power. So the fact that he heals when someone dies or when he dies really help you to kind of stay in the fight and hopefully finish the job. All right, looking at the epics, which can become Exalted, which gives them a level cap of 240, pretty high. Wraith is pretty cool. I like her untargetable in this. I think before it was like 3 times, maybe it was 5 times, but now it's up to 7 times for 160% damage per strike. So 7 times 160 is quite a lot of damage. And untargetable during that time is great. Her gouging strikes every 6 basic attack deals some physical damage and applies 2 stacks of injured to the enemy target. Injured, great. Wraith has a 15% chance to perform a triple hit basic attack. Okay, so this I think started at 10%, moved up to 15. When Wraith deals 15% increased damage to and has 25% chance to add 1 stack of slowed to injured or stunned enemies. So I'm going to add slowed to someone who's injured or stunned, since she does imply the injured. She should also be applying the slow. Not bad, but definitely this ult making her untargetable. Really, really cool. Vorzala, she's my bae. She was one of the first Risen heroes I was able to utilize quite often in the early campaigns. She's a lot of fun. Deals 1050 magical damage. That's a big number. And drains 20% energy from target. Enemy target heals herself for 50% of the damage dealt. So really cool that she reduces their energy, does a bunch of damage, and heals herself with that ult. 150 cost is pretty average. It's good. Whenever an enemy is killed, Risen and Sorcerer allies gain 2 stacks of Strengthened. Vorzala passively deals an increased 5% damage for each alive Sorcerer or Risen ally. So if you're not using Risen with her, make sure you use Sorcerers to get that extra damage output. And she starts the battle with 1 stack of Strengthen. So Strengthen is going to give you more damage output. So yeah, get it. After an ally is killed, there is a 50% chance to banish an enemy that killed her ally for 5 seconds. The chance is increased to 100% chance if the ally was Risen, including self. When Vorzala dies, she charges all allies' abilities by 10% or 20% for Risen and Sorcerer allies. So, okay, this is really cool, because I think it was like 30% chance, something like that at first, or even 25% chance, but the fact that, or maybe as little as 20, but half the time, and then if it's guaranteed to be banished. Banished is so cool. It just completely removes them from the battlefield. So really, really helps to balance, hopefully get the advantage. And then, of course, they do come back. But, yeah, pretty cool. Finally, her Internal Flame. After Vorzala uses her ultimate ability for the next 8 seconds, her basic attacks deal 160% magical damage and applies 1 stack of burning to enemies hit. When Vorzala is killed, she deals 50% magical damage to nearby enemies, plus an additional 50% magical damage per stack of burning on enemies hit. If Netis is on the team, when Netis is killed, she deals 50% magical damage to nearby enemies, plus an additional 50% magical damage per stack of burning on enemies hit. So Vorzala and Netis definitely work really, really well together. Their kits are very synergized, and she even has the specific text to support her. So if possible, obviously you want to put them together. We'll take a look at Netis in a second, but first let's take a look at Rowan. Rowan cleanses all debuffs on himself with his ult, deals 700% physical damage to nearby enemies, and applies Shielded to allies for 6 seconds. Not bad. Some defender support there. And after an undead ally uses their ultimate, or Rowan triggers Void Spear, which is his next skill we'll look at, undead allies gain 3 stacks of defended. Risen allies that are not undead gain 2 stacks of defended instead. So even if you have an undead, a Risen that's not undead, they're still going to gain some defended. And his Void Sphere every 10 seconds creates a magical bubble around himself that nearby allies reduce incoming magical damage taken by 25% and heals for 25% power per second. This lasts for 5 seconds. So that 25% little drip heal, like a regeneration, pretty cool there. In his power shield, after being hit by a magical attack, Rowan's shield glows with dark energy, increasing in effect each hit. After 3 hits, he releases the energy in a cone, dealing 300% magical damage, and applies inhibited to enemies hit for 4 seconds. So, magical attack. So if he's up against physical attackers, that's not going to do anything, but 3 magical hits could happen pretty quickly. He's coning pretty often, inhibiting, really, really cool. He's got some fun support as a tank. Okay, Netis, that demon striker. She pulls target enemy into melee range of Netis, deals 945% magical damage, that's a decent amount, and applies 3 stacks of burning to target. It deals an additional 190% magical damage to backline targets, and if Vorzala's on the team, she casts her ultimate ability at the same target at no energy cost. So Netis causes Vorzala to get free ultimates off. That's insane. Netis and Vorzala, power couple. Faux show. Nasty. Alright. And her infernal aura, enemies near Netis take 10% magical damage per second. And nearby Empire enemies take 20% magic per second. Enemies start battle with 1 stack of burning. So that's nice because like her basic kit, she doesn't apply burning on her Infernal Lash or here, but she does get the increased damage on burning with Forbidden Flames. Demon allies heals for 7% of their max health after hitting a burning enemy with a basic attack. So that's definitely going to be Vorzala and her. That is so cool. So she does have a way of giving out her own burning, but she still wants other people to put on the burn. All warrior allies gain 2 stacks of strength at the start of battle, and after Netis or any warrior ally uses their ultimate ability. Okay, very nice. So putting warriors that may also have burn would potentially be very, very helpful for Netis. Theorycraft, we could think of just a few different ways to do that. Pretty cool. Finally, Felbog, the orc support, who is very toxic. He has magical damage. He applies 3 stacks of poison and 3 stacks of slow to enemies hit. That's really cool. His toxic allies' basic attacks have 15% chance to apply 1 stack of poison to enemies hit, which is really, really cool. So you definitely want to put him on a toxic team. When Felbog crits with a basic attack, he drains 15% energy from the enemy target, or 30% energy if the target is poisoned. And his tenacious toxicity, toxic allies take 25% less damage from poison enemies and deals 25% more damage to poison enemies. So, just being toxic is like its own faction in a sense when fighting with Felbog. When a toxic ally kills an enemy, 2 stacks of poison is applied to a random enemy, keeping that poisoned chain going. And then I think, Pollux causes them to explode, so with Weakened, and here we got some Weakened. At the start of battle, banished furthest enemy from Felbog for 5 seconds, applies 2 stacks of Weakened to enemies returning from banished. So, Felbog banishes and Vorzala banishes, so I could see Vorzala being useful on his team to add that Weakened. So maybe... Felbog, Vorzala, Netis, and then if you want another toxic, maybe Pollux. But of course, if you want to stay in the theme, Rowan's probably the best bet, like what's suggested, because you need a tank. No, you don't, but it definitely helps. All right, well, that's it for the Risen heroes. We've gone through all of them. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Which ones are your favorite? Have you theory crafted any teams? Let me know. Don't forget to ninja kick the like button and subscribe for more content, and we'll see you in the next video.